What if I told you that some of the most forgotten towns in America were once symbols of hope, hard work, and the American dream? Places where factories never slept, where music changed the world, and where families believed the future was secure. Today, these towns are labeled depressing, defined by poverty, empty streets, and broken promises. But here's the question no one asks. If life is so hard, why do people stay? In this video, we're traveling through America's most struggling towns, not to judge them, but to understand them. Because behind every abandoned building is a story, and behind every statistic is a human life. Number 11, Gary, Indiana was never meant to be small, quiet, or forgotten. It was built to be powerful. Founded in 1906 by U.S. Steel, Gary was once one of the most important industrial cities in America. The mills ran day and night. Jobs were plentiful. Families came from across the country, believing they were stepping into a future that would only grow. Then the industry collapsed. As steel production declined and automation replaced workers, Gary lost tens of thousands of jobs. Population followed. From nearly 180,000 residents at its peak, the city now holds less than half that number. Entire neighborhoods emptied out, schools closed. Downtown hollowed. What remains is often framed as decay, abandoned buildings, broken infrastructure, and poverty rates far above the national average. On paper, Gary looks hopeless. But people stay. One reason is cost. Gary is one of the cheapest places to live in America. Rent is low. Home prices are often shockingly affordable. For people on fixed incomes, retirees, or those priced out of nearby Chicago, Gary becomes less of a failure and more of a last affordable option. Another reason is geography. Gary sits just outside one of the largest economic hubs in the country. Chicago is close enough to reach, but far enough to avoid its cost. Some residents commute. Others rely on regional services. The city's location keeps it from disappearing completely. Then there's identity. Many residents are second or third generation Gary families. Their parents worked the mills. Their grandparents built the neighborhoods. Leaving doesn't feel like opportunity. It feels like betrayal. Churches, community centers, and local groups still function as emotional anchors, even when resources are thin. Gary also has resilience outsiders rarely see. Grassroots organizations, artists, and educators continue to work with almost no attention or funding. Progress is slow, uneven, and fragile, but it exists. That doesn't erase the reality. Crime is real. Infrastructure is broken. Opportunity is limited, especially for the young. Depression here isn't just emotional, it's structural. But Gary tells a truth many towns share. Sometimes people don't stay because things are good. They stay because this is where their life still makes sense. Gary isn't a cautionary tale about laziness or failure. It is a warning about what happens when an economy leaves and never comes back for the people it depended on. And yet, the city remains quiet, scarred, still breathing. Not because it's thriving, but because its people refuse to disappear. Number 10, Flint, Michigan, didn't become a symbol by choice. It became one by exposure. For most of the 20th century, Flint was a manufacturing powerhouse, the birthplace of General Motors, and a cornerstone of America's industrial rise. Jobs were stable. Wages were strong. Entire neighborhoods were built around the promise that factory work would provide a full life. Then the factories left. As General Motors downsized and automated, Flint lost tens of thousands of jobs. Population dropped sharply. Tax revenue collapsed. Public services weakened. By the time the city entered state emergency management, it was already fragile. And then came the water crisis. When Flint's water source was switched in 2014 to cut costs, the result was catastrophic. Lead contamination poisoned homes, schools, and trust itself. National attention followed, but help came slowly. For residents, the damage wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Being told your water is unsafe changes how you see everything. From the outside, Flint is often reduced to that moment. Broken pipes, bottled water, headlines. But people stay, and the reasons are deeper than neglect. Affordability is one. Flint remains one of the cheapest cities in America. Rent is low. Home ownership is still possible for people who would be priced out almost anywhere else. For retirees, fixed-income families, or residents with deep roots, leaving isn't financially simple. Then there's loyalty. Many Flint residents feel abandoned not by their city, but by the systems meant to protect it. Leaving feels like surrender. Staying becomes a statement, quiet, stubborn, and deeply personal. Churches, local nonprofits, and community organizers stepped in where institutions failed, creating networks that outsiders rarely see. Flint also has resilience that doesn't photograph well. Urban farms, youth programs, artists reclaiming empty spaces. Progress is slow, uneven, and often exhausting, but it's real. That doesn't erase the pain. Poverty remains high. Trust in government is thin. Health impacts from the crisis will last generations. Depression here isn't abstract, it's lived daily. But Flint tells an uncomfortable truth. People don't stay because things are fixed. They stay because this is where their story didn't end, even when it was supposed to. Flint isn't depressing because its people gave up. It's depressing because they were tested in ways few communities ever are, and stayed anyway. Not because they forgot how to leave, but because leaving doesn't always feel like survival. Sometimes staying is. Number 9, Youngstown, Ohio. It was once built on a promise so strong it felt permanent. Steel wasn't just an industry here. It was identity, security, and pride. For generations, mills lined the Mahoning River, and a job at the plant meant a middle-class life, a pension, and a future that felt certain. Then came Black Monday. On September 19, 1977, Youngstown Sheet and Tube announced the closure of its Campbell Works. 5,000 jobs vanished overnight. More closures followed. In just a few years, tens of thousands of steelworkers were unemployed, and the city began a slow, painful unraveling. Population collapsed. Neighborhoods emptied. Schools closed. What had once been a booming industrial city became a symbol of Rust Belt decline. From the outside, Youngstown feels stalled in time. Empty lots sit where houses once stood. Downtown struggles to hold businesses. Poverty rates remain high, and opportunity for young people feels limited. Depression here isn't dramatic, it's quiet, persistent, and structural. And yet, people stay. Part of the reason is affordability. Youngstown remains one of the cheapest cities in Ohio. Rent is low. Home ownership is still possible on modest income. For retirees, working-class families, and people priced out of larger cities, leaving doesn't always make financial sense. But the deeper reason is loyalty. Youngstown is built on stubbornness. Families here endured layoffs, recessions, and broken promises together. That shared hardship created a bond that doesn't dissolve easily. Leaving feels less like progress and more like abandonment of parents, neighbors, and a city that raised you. Community still exists, even in decline. Churches, local diners, high school football, and neighborhood events continue to anchor daily life. Youngstown State University remains a stabilizing force, keeping some youth, education, and hope rooted in the city. That doesn't mean the pain is gone. Addiction, unemployment, and mental health struggles remain real. Many residents live with the constant tension of wanting more, but staying anyway. Youngstown tells a difficult truth. Sometimes a town doesn't recover, but it doesn't disappear either. People stay not because the past was perfect, but because their lives are still stitched into the place. The streets may feel emptier, the future less certain, but meaning doesn't vanish just because the economy did. Youngstown isn't depressing because its people stopped trying. It's depressing because they tried and the system walked away. And yet, the city remains, worn, loyal, still standing. Number 8, Camden, New Jersey, that exists in the shadow of one of America's most successful cities. and that contrast has defined it for decades. Just across the Delaware River from Philadelphia, Camden should have thrived. It had factories, shipyards, and a deep industrial base. Companies like RCA once anchored thousands of jobs here. For much of the 20th century, Camden was a working-class city with momentum and purpose. Then the economy shifted, and Camden was left behind. Manufacturing jobs vanished. Suburban flight drained population and tax revenue. What remained was concentrated poverty, underfunded schools, and aging infrastructure. By the early 2000s, Camden had one of the highest crime rates in the nation and became a national shorthand for urban failure. From the outside, Camden is often described in extremes: dangerous, broken, hopeless. But that framing misses why people stay. One reason is housing. Camden remains significantly more affordable than surrounding areas. Rent and home prices are among the lowest in New Jersey, a state otherwise known for high costs. For families with limited income, moving isn't always an upgrade. It's a financial gamble they can't afford. Another reason is proximity. Camden's location keeps it tethered to opportunity, even if unevenly. Philadelphia is minutes away. Hospitals, universities, and jobs exist just across the river. Some residents commute. Others rely on shared regional services. Leaving Camden doesn't necessarily improve access. Sometimes it complicates it. Then there's community. Camden's residents are deeply rooted. Families have lived here for generations. Churches, neighborhood groups, and local organizations often fill gaps left by government and industry. When institutions failed, people built informal systems of support, watching children, sharing rides, helping neighbors survive. That resilience doesn't erase the damage. Poverty is real. Trauma is real. Many residents live with constant stress, and young people often grow up surrounded by limits they didn't choose. But Camden also tells a harder truth. People don't stay because they don't know better. They stay because leaving would mean abandoning family, identity, and a place that still feels like home, even when it hurts. Camden isn't depressing because its people lack effort. It's depressing because investments skipped over them repeatedly. And yet, the city remains, not frozen, not gone. Still holding on, right across the river from everything it was promised. Number 7, East St. Louis, Illinois, that is often cited as one of the most troubled cities in America, but its story is far more complex than statistics alone can explain. Located just across the Mississippi River from St. Louis, Missouri, East St. Louis was once a thriving industrial hub. In the early 20th century, it attracted factories, railroads, and thousands of workers seeking stable jobs and a better life. Meatpacking plants, aluminum smelters, and manufacturing facilities powered the local economy, and the city grew rapidly with promise and opportunity. The decline began after World War II, when industrial jobs started disappearing due to automation, outsourcing, and suburbanization. As factories closed or relocated, unemployment surged. Middle-class families moved away, tax revenues collapsed, and public services deteriorated. This economic freefall created a cycle that became difficult to escape. By the 1970s and 1980s, East St. Louis was facing severe poverty, crumbling infrastructure, and widespread disinvestment. Crime statistics have long shaped the city's national reputation. High rates of violent crime, combined with abandoned buildings and underfunded schools, painted a bleak picture that media outlets often highlighted without context. But behind those headlines are generations of residents who stayed not because life was easy, but because it was home. Many families have deep roots here, stretching back decades. Churches, community centers, and local activists have played a crucial role in holding neighborhoods together when formal systems failed. Environmental issues also add to the city's struggles. Industrial pollution left behind contaminated land, health risks, and long-term consequences for residents. Combined with limited access to quality healthcare and education, these factors contributed to shorter life expectancy and fewer opportunities for upward mobility. Yet East St. Louis is not without resilience or hope. Grassroots organizations, youth programs, and urban renewal efforts are slowly working to rebuild trust and opportunity. The city has also produced influential figures in music, sports, and civil rights, reminding the world that talent and ambition still rise from difficult circumstances. People stay in East St. Louis because of loyalty, family, affordability, and a belief that change, however slow, is still possible. It is a city shaped by systemic failures, but also by endurance, identity, and an unbreakable sense of belonging. Number 6. Pine Ridge, South Dakota. That is often described as one of the most difficult places to live in the United States, but that description barely captures the depth of its reality. Located on the Pine Ridge Reservation, home to the Oglala Lakota Nation, this community is shaped by a long history of broken treaties, systemic neglect, and generational trauma. Pine Ridge is not a town in the conventional sense. It is a reservation community whose challenges are rooted in centuries of displacement and injustice rather than local mismanagement alone. Economic hardship defines daily life for many residents. Unemployment rates have historically been among the highest in the nation, often exceeding 50%. Those who do find work typically earn very low wages, and access to stable long-term employment is limited. Poverty is widespread, with many families living far below the federal poverty line. Housing shortages are severe, leading to overcrowded homes where multiple generations often share limited space, sometimes without reliable heating, plumbing, or electricity. Health conditions in Pine Ridge are equally alarming. Life expectancy is significantly lower than the U.S. average, driven by high rates of diabetes, heart disease, alcoholism, and suicide. Access to quality health care is limited, with underfunded facilities struggling to meet the needs of the population. Mental health issues, especially among young people, are compounded by historical trauma passed down through generations, from forced relocations to boarding schools that stripped Native children of their language and culture. Education presents another challenge. Schools are under-resourced, dropout rates are high, and opportunities for higher education are limited. Yet, many educators and community leaders continue to fight for culturally grounded education that preserves Lakota identity while preparing youth for the modern world. Despite these hardships, Pine Ridge is not defined solely by suffering. The community is deeply rooted in Lakota culture, spirituality, and resilience. Traditional ceremonies, strong family bonds, and a profound connection to the land give residents a sense of identity and purpose that outsiders often overlook. Many people stay not because they lack options, but because leaving would mean abandoning their heritage, ancestors, and sacred land. Pine Ridge stands as a powerful example of how systemic neglect can devastate a community, and how cultural strength and resilience can endure, even in the harshest conditions. Number 5. Welch, McDowell County. West Virginia was once a symbol of American industrial strength, but today it stands as a haunting reminder of what happens when a single industry economy collapses. Tucked deep in the Appalachian Mountains, Welch was built on coal. At its peak in the early 20th century, it was a booming company town filled with theaters, hotels, banks, and a proud working-class population. Coal money fueled everything from schools to small businesses, and life here once felt stable and predictable. That stability vanished as coal declined. Mechanization, mine closures, and shifting energy markets slowly drained jobs from McDowell County. Families moved away in waves, chasing work elsewhere, leaving behind empty homes, shuttered storefronts, and a shrinking tax base. Today, Welch has lost a large portion of its population, and many streets feel frozen in time, lined with abandoned buildings that quietly tell stories of a busier past. Economic hardship defines daily life for many who remain. Unemployment and underemployment are high, and opportunities are limited. Young people often feel they must leave to build a future, while older residents stay behind, deeply tied to the land and their memories. Poverty rates in McDowell County rank among the highest in the nation, and basic services from healthcare to infrastructure are strained by lack of funding. The opioid crisis has hit Welch especially hard. Generations of physically demanding coal work left many residents injured, and prescription painkillers opened the door to addiction. Over time, that addiction evolved into a broader substance abuse crisis, affecting families across the community. Combined with limited access to healthcare and mental health services, the result has been devastating. Yet, despite everything, people stay. They stay because Welch is home. The Appalachian identity here runs deep-rooted in family, faith, and resilience. Neighbors know each other. Churches remain active. Community groups and nonprofits continue fighting to rebuild, focusing on job training, education, and small-scale economic revival. There is hope in tourism, heritage preservation, and new remote work possibilities, even if progress is slow. Welch is not just a depressing town. It is a place caught between history and uncertainty, loss and loyalty. People remain, not because life is easy, but because leaving would mean giving up a sense of belonging that no paycheck elsewhere can replace. Number 4, Clarksdale, Mississippi, that sits in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, a town rich in cultural history but weighed down by decades of economic hardship. Known worldwide as the birthplace of the blues, Clarksdale once pulsed with music, agriculture, and commerce. Cotton was king, railroads brought trade, and the Delta's economy supported thousands of families. Legends like Muddy Waters and John Lee Hooker came from this soil, giving Clarksdale an outsized influence on American music and culture. But as mechanization transformed agriculture and cotton jobs disappeared, Clarksdale's economy began to collapse. Sharecropping faded, factories never fully replaced farm work, and generations were left with fewer opportunities. Population steadily declined as younger residents moved north or west in search of work. Today, many neighborhoods show clear signs of neglect, abandoned homes, struggling schools, and businesses fighting just to survive. Poverty is a defining challenge. A large portion of residents live below the poverty line, and access to quality healthcare, education, and employment remains limited. The legacy of racial inequality still shapes daily life, with deep economic divides that trace back to segregation-era policies. For many families, upward mobility feels distant, and cycles of hardship repeat across generations. Yet Clarksdale is not without life or pride. Music remains its soul. Blues clubs like Ground Zero Blues Club and annual festivals draw visitors from around the world. Tourism tied to blues history has become one of the town's few growing economic lifelines, bringing in artists, travelers, and cultural preservation efforts. On weekend nights, live music still echoes through downtown, reminding residents of what makes their town unique. People stay in Clarksdale for deeply personal reasons. Family ties are strong, and roots run generations deep. For many, leaving would mean abandoning elderly parents, community bonds, and a cultural identity that exists nowhere else. The slower pace of life, low cost of living, and familiar faces offer a sense of belonging that big cities cannot replace. Clarksdale is often labeled as one of America's most depressing towns because of its economic struggles, but that label misses the full story. Beneath the hardship is resilience, creativity, and cultural power. The town survives not because life is easy, but because its people carry a fierce loyalty to their history, their music, and each other. Number 3, Harlan, Kentucky. It is one of the most well-known symbols of Appalachian struggle in America, a town whose history is deeply tied to coal, labor conflict, and economic hardship. Nestled in southeastern Kentucky near the Virginia border, Harlan was once a booming coal town. In the early and mid-20th century, coal mines powered the local economy, providing steady jobs and drawing thousands of families to the region. At its height, Harlan County was alive with workers, businesses, schools, and a strong sense of purpose. Harlan gained national attention during the Bloody Harlan era of the 1930s, when violent labor disputes erupted between coal miners and mining companies. These clashes became a defining part of the town's identity, symbolizing both exploitation and resistance. While unions eventually improved conditions, the long-term future of coal was already fragile. As mechanization increased and energy markets shifted away from coal, jobs slowly disappeared. The decline hit Harlan hard. Mines closed, wages vanished, and people began leaving in large numbers. Today, many streets are lined with abandoned buildings, empty homes, and aging infrastructure. Poverty rates are high, and employment opportunities are limited. Healthcare access is a major challenge, and the region has been deeply affected by addiction and opioid-related deaths, a crisis fueled in part by years of physically demanding labor and economic despair. Despite these struggles, Harlan is not a town without pride or resilience. The surrounding mountains are beautiful, and the sense of Appalachian identity runs deep. Music, storytelling, and faith remain central to community life. Families often live on land that has been passed down for generations, creating powerful emotional ties that are difficult to break. For many residents, leaving would mean losing not just a place, but their identity. People stay in Harlan because of loyalty to family, to tradition, and to home. The cost of living is low, neighbors look out for one another, and there is comfort in familiarity. In recent years, small efforts toward renewal have emerged, including tourism tied to Appalachian culture, outdoor recreation, and local history. While these efforts cannot fully replace the coal economy, they offer small signs of hope. Harlan is often labeled as one of America's most depressing towns, but that label overlooks its humanity. It is a place shaped by hardship, yes, but also by strength, memory, and a deep-rooted sense of belonging that keeps people holding on, even when leaving might seem easier. Number 2. Danville, Illinois. It sits quietly along the Indiana border, a town that once thrived on manufacturing but now struggles with long-term economic decline. For much of the 20th century, Danville was powered by factories, coal mines, and railroads. General Motors plants, industrial suppliers, and union jobs supported a strong middle class. Downtown bustled, neighborhoods were stable, and families believed the work would last forever. That foundation collapsed when manufacturing left. Factory closures in the late 20th century wiped out thousands of jobs almost overnight. Coal mining faded, rail traffic slowed, and replacement industries never fully arrived. As employment disappeared, people followed, especially younger residents, leaving Danville with a shrinking population and a weakened tax base. Entire blocks of homes fell into disrepair, and once busy commercial areas became quiet. Poverty is now one of Danville's defining realities. The city consistently ranks among the poorest in Illinois, with high unemployment and low household incomes. Crime rates have drawn national attention, reinforcing negative perceptions and making it harder to attract new investment. Schools struggle with limited resources, and public infrastructure shows signs of long-term neglect. For many residents, daily life feels like a constant effort just to stay afloat. Health challenges also weigh heavily on the community. Like many former industrial towns, Danville has been affected by addiction, mental health issues, and limited access to quality health care. The stress of economic instability has rippled through families for generations, creating cycles that are difficult to break. Hope often feels fragile, especially for young people who see few local opportunities. And yet, people stay. They stay because Danville is home. Housing is affordable, sometimes shockingly so, allowing families to survive on limited incomes. Longtime residents have deep roots: parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents who worked the same factories and lived on the same streets. Churches, local sports, and community events still bring people together, offering a sense of belonging that can't be easily replaced. There are also small signs of resilience. Healthcare facilities and logistics jobs provide some stability, and local leaders continue pushing for redevelopment and downtown revival. While progress is slow, community pride remains strong. Neighbors help neighbors, and many residents refuse to give up on the place that shaped them. Danville is often labeled as depressing because of what it has lost. But beneath the statistics is a town defined by endurance. People remain not because life is easy, but because loyalty, affordability, and identity keep pulling them back, even when the future feels uncertain. Number 1. Johnstown, Pennsylvania. It is a town forever linked to tragedy, industry, and long-term decline. Located in the Allegheny Mountains, Johnstown once stood as a proud symbol of American steel power. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, steel mills dominated the region, providing thousands of stable, well-paying jobs. Immigrants poured in, neighborhoods grew, and downtown thrived with shops, theaters, and civic life built around industrial success. Johnstown's name became nationally known because of disaster. The Great Flood of 1889 killed more than 2,200 people and remains one of the deadliest disasters in U.S. history. While the city rebuilt and recovered, flooding would strike again multiple times throughout the 20th century, leaving psychological and financial scars. Each flood slowed growth, drained resources, and reinforced a sense of vulnerability that still lingers. The real collapse came when the steel industry declined. As mills closed or downsized in the late 20th century, thousands of jobs vanished. Families moved away in search of work, and Johnstown's population steadily shrank. What remained was an aging population, vacant homes, and a weakened local economy struggling to replace what steel once provided. Today, poverty and unemployment remain major challenges. Many parts of the city feel frozen in time, with abandoned industrial sites and underused downtown buildings. Public infrastructure shows wear, and economic opportunities are limited. Like many post-industrial towns, Johnstown has also faced issues related to addiction, health problems, and population loss, all tied to decades of economic stress. Yet people stay, and not by accident. Johnstown has a strong sense of identity shaped by survival. Residents take pride in having rebuilt after disaster again and again. Housing is affordable, the cost of living is low, and family roots often stretch back generations. Many residents know their neighbors, share history, and value the slower, quieter pace of life. There are also signs of resilience. Healthcare, education, and small businesses now play a larger role in the local economy. Heritage tourism focused on the flood museums and regional history brings visitors each year. Community leaders continue pushing revitalization projects, even if progress comes slowly. Johnstown is often labeled as depressing because of what it has endured and lost, but that label misses the deeper truth. It is a town shaped by hardship, defined by endurance, and held together by loyalty. People remain not because the past was easy, but because surviving it became part of who they are. When we talk about depressing towns, it's easy to focus on what's broken, the lost jobs, the closed factories, the shrinking populations. But what often goes unseen is what still survives. Families who refuse to leave their roots. Communities that hold together when everything else falls apart. Pride that doesn't show up on a balance sheet. These towns aren't just places on a map. They are reminders of what America once was and warnings of what happens when people are left behind. If this video made you see these places differently, share it, because understanding is the first step toward change. And remember, sometimes the strongest people live in the hardest places.